Ready to get down to business? Join seasoned entrepreneur, community leader, and Army veteran Scott Shalom Klein, who will take you behind the scenes with those who work in America's small business scene and speak with leaders making an impact, creating jobs, and telling their story in entrepreneurship. So let's get down to business. On AM 560, The Answer, here's your host, Shalom Klein.
And indeed, we're all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You're on with Get Down to Business. I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts on my website at syklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you will not want to miss. Thrilled to kick off this week's program. We're talking about something really important, and we're going to continue talking about artificial intelligence. We know that businesses are pouring billions into AI. In fact, it's expected to top 151 billion by 2027, and it's radically reshaping industries large and small, and leaders are scrambling to adapt to that era. But what if the future isn't about bits and bytes replacing humans? What about something revolutionary? Machines and humans merging to create a new kind of business superintelligence. And that's exactly what I'm thrilled to be joined with Nada Sanders, Dr. Nada Sanders, who's an internationally recognized AI thought leader, expert in forecasting and global supply chain intelligence, and distinguished professor at the School of Business at Northeastern University in Boston. And Nada is ranked by Stanford as one of the world's top 2% of scientists. She's sought after speaker and author of 100 plus top tier scholarly publications and 7 books, including a new one. It's called The Human Machine, AI, Human Virtues, and the Superintelligent Enterprise. Nada, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Shalom, for having me. Thrilled to be here.
Absolutely. So, Nada, what motivated you to write the second edition of The Human Machine immediately after the COVID pandemic?
It's a great question. You sort of answered it just by saying immediately after the pandemic, right? So let me just kind of preface by saying that I've worked most of my career looking at terms of how businesses use technology, algorithms, software, and that interaction between executives and managers and how they actually use the tech. The first edition of the book, The Human Machine, came out December 2019. So it was right before the pandemic. We'd been doing research for 2 years, interviewing really hundreds of CEOs, SVPs, IT executives, trying to look at initially what was the key, the element that made it work for business. We actually went into the project with the idea to identify the latest and greatest of what technology could do. And this was now, 2018, 2019. What we found, and this was insane to see company after company after company, without an exception, was that every company said to us back then that the secret to their success with technology and AI was culture and was people. It was really staggering because the companies that we spoke with were across industry sectors. Many of them are common names that your listeners would know. And what was also interesting at the time is that every company said to us, well, we are behind the curve. Well, obviously, Shalom, we know that not everybody can be behind the curve, right? Because there's an average. And the reason they all felt that way is because of this hype. Well, then the pandemic happened. We know what happened in 2020, 2021. And then we were asked to revise this book. This book, The Human Machine, represents what we saw in the best in enterprises that was coming, which was really an amalgam between humans and machines. The understanding that to succeed as a business, and this is what we learned, was that we had to take the best of both and really combine them in this symbiotic fashion. Well, we continued this study, and I can tell you I am continuing to do this work. The second edition just came out 2 months ago, 2024, but I am doing ongoing interviews, talking to businesses, because this is really changing as we speak. But there was a big difference in the post-COVID. We were really surprised. So initially, we were shocked to see that it was people and culture. Well, now, fast forward to post-COVID, it was even more so. One of the CEOs, Spencer Fung, who's the CEO of Li & Fung, said to me, and I thought this was really interesting. He said the key for businesses now is to reassess their business model first. Large or small, they have to rethink what is the business model. And he said, what so many companies are doing is they're trying to tack on AI to their old business model. But he said it's kind of like digitizing a horse and buggy when your competition is creating a digital automobile. And I thought it was great analogy because he's right. We have to start with the business model that is, we're in very different environment. Geopolitics, climate change, economics, what's the Fed going to do? All the kinds of stuff that is going on impacting global businesses. And so we see tremendous change going on. And so he was right. You start with the business model, and that's what everybody told us. And then number two was really cultivating your talent, cultivating the skills. And really two sets of skills that really stood out. I mean, obviously human skills, the kinds of things that, you and I know, and I think everyone has kind of heard of, but two things that really stuck out. One was the need to really keep and hold on to talent that is experienced. So there has been this kind of a tendency to eliminate older talent. They're obviously more expensive. We can hire kids out of school. But what we are finding with AI, what really works better with AI, are people that know how to read false signals, false flags that can intervene when it's needed and know how to do that. And I think when you're young and inexperienced, you don't know how to do that, which really creates an opportunity for companies to create new training mechanisms, a new role for HR. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that we could talk about here that we don't have time, but it really talks about the fact that we need to hold on to our talented, experienced workers. In the book, I actually refer to them as the, gray-haired talent. And the other thing that kept on coming up, and I was really surprised on this, was the need for interpersonal skills. The idea that, we've pushed STEM so much, and I have to tell you, I'm a STEM person. I'm an engineer in a past life. So I am approaching this from that background. But what has come out over and over again is the importance of interpersonal skills, that these skills are what is necessary. These are the skills that are being lost because what's happening is with Gen AI, we are really creating something that is copyable. And if you think about it, let's say, Coke and Pepsi, right? And they both have Gen AI. They both have LLMs that they can use. Well, what makes it different? What makes them different? Well, knowing how they're competing in the marketplace. And then that extra element is going to be building personal relationships. One CEO said to me, the longer that relationship, the better, where I can look at you, I trust you. That is going to take us beyond what technology and AI can do. And I'll stop here. I can go on for a long time.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate all that we've been able to learn from you. Again, chatting with Dr. Nada Sanders, internationally recognized AI thought leader and the author of The Human Machine, AI, Human Virtues, and the Super Intelligent Enterprise. The second edition, I know, just came out in March of this year. So, Nada, you've shared a lot in terms of how we should be keeping up to prepare ourselves for the rapid changes taking place with AI and how it's relevant, of course, to all organizations of different sizes and, of course, different industries. And I want to make sure our listeners can find your book and, of course, get in touch with you. How can we do that?
You can just go to nadasanders.com, which is my website. And then, of course, Amazon, you can look it up. Publisher is Routledge. So They can also look it up on Routledge. And last but not least is I am on LinkedIn like everybody, but I will respond. I respond to everyone. And if you reach out to me, I will respond back. If you have a question, I will answer it. Networking is extremely important. As you heard me speak, that seems to be the differentiating factor. And I'm all about that. I'm all about helping, connecting people. So if anybody reaches out, I will respond back.
Well, I really appreciate it, Nada. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And we'll make sure that we link to your great read again in its second edition. And I know that you regularly share lots of great content on this important topic and with a really, really unique approach. And coming up on the program, we've got a jam-packed hour of all things small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. As always, make sure you get on my website, syklein.com. I love to hear from our listeners, but also make sure to check out your favorite podcast app. Just search for Get Down to Business and be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share. It makes it even easier to not miss a single episode, but also to make sure that your friends, colleagues can also get all of the great content that we've been putting out there over the past 11 plus years. Again, Get Down to Business returns in just a moment. Don't touch that dial.